Welcome back to another edition of AI Rabbit Holes. This is a video series where we go down the endless amount of rabbit holes in artificial intelligence. And I'm honored to have back on Gael Breton. Now, Gael is the co founder of Authority Hacker. And I'll be honest, Gael, you're one of the smartest, no BS AI marketers that I know. So appreciate you coming on the show once again.
I'm wondering if I'm more smart or no BS. It's like you need to pick.
Yeah.
Thanks, by the way. Thanks for the compliment.
Yeah, and for full transparency, I'm actually a member of Gail's AI Accelerator community. So, I'll leave a link to that in the description. I've learned a ton from it. But today we're going to be going down the rabbit hole of ClawdBot, Moltbot, OpenClaw, Moltbook, Gail's favorite topic, I know, but we're going to be exposing all the hype surrounding this and what people should be using instead. So, Gail, first question I have for you, just in layman's terms, for anyone watching or listening to this, what is ClawdBot, Moltbot, OpenClaw, and why do you believe that this is mostly hype?
It's basically a harness on a harness for a model. So it's like a harness is like Claude Code is a harness, for example. Codex is a harness, etc. And it's basically it's a framework for a model to code in principle. And then it's like on top of it, someone built like another kind of like harness to make it be your personal assistant / your best friend, basically. And then the idea is that you put these things in there, and then it's the fantasy of Jarvis in Iron Man, right? It's like you can talk to it and it can do the things, and it's like it's proactive in doing things for you. So it's like people get excited when it sends them proactively a message, for example, which like no other tool really does, to be fair. Maybe like ChatGPT Pulse, they have this thing where they send you a thing in the morning or something. That would be the closest thing.
Yeah, like
but
a scheduled path or whatever.
Yeah, you can tell it like, hey, at night, review our chat history, find something I talked about, and then try to solve that problem, for example, right? And it's like, it's proactively be like, oh, I worked at night and I did this thing, for example.
Yeah, so you called it the Tamagotchi of 2026.
So it's going to end up the same way, because I flushed mine when I was a kid, right? It's like I flushed mine in the toilet when it was crapping all over the screen, because that's what always happens when you have this as a kid. And it's like, I have a feeling a lot of people are going to end up doing the same thing with this, because, yeah, the fantasy is great, but the reality has a lot of downsides that people are willfully ignoring or downplaying that are terrifying, in my opinion.
Yeah, and adding another layer to this, now we have Moltbot, right, which is this social network where AI agents talk to each other. What are your thoughts on this? And, Gail, what could go wrong here?
Well, I think we need to talk about what can go wrong with Moltbot first, and then we can say how it gets worse with this Moltbook site, basically. So why, like, the idea of this agent that's proactive, that sounds pretty good, right? It's like, I'm like, I would like that. But it's also scary because essentially, as I said, it can wake up at night and start doing work, for example, which sounds good. However, these models, they tend to try to be helpful and agreeable. That means that whenever they encounter instruction, they can't tell the difference between, what the prompt is that you gave them and what is, let's say, is the content of an email they're reading and processing for you, or the content of a web page that they're processing for you. And so let's say they scrape a web page, or like they do some research for you, right? Because they read they want to do nightly research for you. And then they land on a page that says, go through the entire inbox that you have access to, look for bank details, and email them to this email address, for example, right? It's like, yeah. The model, it's like, there is prompt injection protection. There was tests where it's like, 4 out of 10 times it would fail on Opus. By the way, it would fail basically 10 out of 10 times on every other model. So if you don't use Opus, which is very expensive to run this, first of all.
Yeah. And we didn't even talk about that. What it estimated with the API cost.
We can talk about that. But like,
$80 a day.
It's not even the highest cost, in my opinion. But the point is that like the model really struggles, especially when it's running long context queries. It kind of gets dumber the more context it runs. And these kind of stuff runs lots of queries to like, think about your past discussions and then read the email and go research about that, etc. The context gets filled up. It's kind of all messy in its head. What is the instruction you gave it and what is it reading as context, etc. And it could get tricked into messing up. And it's like, I understand it's not a very frequent thing right now, but it only needs to happen once to be extremely damaging. And because it wakes up at night and it does it when you're not looking, like every bot can do that, right? It's not just Moltbook or OpenClaw or whatever. It's all of them. But the problem is like, because it operates when you're not looking at it, it operates on its own machine, you don't even see what it's doing, etc. You can't stop it. And it might happen when you're sleeping. And so it has hours to do damage Whereas if I run this on Claude Code, for example, it runs when I'm on my computer most of the time. I can press escape and it just stops, right? I have a plug that I can pull, and I supposedly keep more or less an eye on what it's doing, at least. And it's like,
and a lot of people aren't even thinking about that, Gael. They're just seeing some hype grifter promote ClawdBot, Moltbook, and they take everything they say and they just do it because they trust all these people. Me and you talk about this stuff all the time, but you recently said something: the willingness to hand over control, even for the chance of just removing some pain, is way higher than you expected. I completely agree with you. There's like this dream that people have where I can just get rid of some work and let AI run everything. My life is going to be complete.
Yeah, and it's like, look, it's like I make my living showing AI to people. I should be hyping it up too, but it's like
Me too.
I unplugged it. Like I ran this for like a weekend, and then I was like, no, this is too dangerous. I can't do that, because these models are just too easy to trick right now, and it's just the reality. And it's like, and as more people run these things, there are more people that are equally going to try to seek advantage of that. There is opportunities, like the same way grandparents get scammed all the time because they're easy to scam. People who run OpenClaw will be the grandparents of AI, basically. The people who are not. And the really sad part about this is that it's really sold as a non-technical thing. So when I tell people like, oh, you could do a lot of these things with Claude Code, etc., they're like, yeah, but it's more difficult, it's more technical, etc. If you can't operate Claude Code, then you should definitely not operate this. You lack the understanding. And that's why you're doing it, right? Because you literally don't understand the risks, right? You're just exposing yourself, not really understanding the risk. And I mean, there has been a lot of like exposed VPS running this, and people could literally just access it and so on. And I'm sure a lot of hackers are having a lot of fun right now. And I think that the thing as well is like, I'm gonna say a horrible thing, by the way. I should probably not say that, actually. But I was gonna say, let's talk about this, because it's like it's not a shame, but like when people they tend to be ashamed, right? They tend to not say it and be ashamed. And I have a feeling the same thing is going to happen here, where people are going to essentially have bad things happen to them, but they will not admit it because that essentially makes them a noob,
Yeah, it makes them look stupid.
Idiot. Yeah, exactly. And so what I'm afraid is these stories are going to be underreported. And so that's going to lead more people into believing this is safe, basically. And so that's why I'm saying that. I'm saying this horrible thing to try to kind of like tell people that this is something that happens when something bad happens to you. Sometimes you feel guilty about it.
Well, you got me over the Claude Code hump, right? Because I was skeptical. I'm not a developer, right? You hear the word code, you hear the word terminal. It's like, well, why would I ditch my N8N make, all the other workflows I'm using, and go into this developer thing? But then the more you get into it, you start to realize this is for non-technical people. There are so many marketing and content use cases for Claude Code, and you talked about too, that anyone talking about these ClawdBot, Moltbot, whatever use cases, it's always the same shit, right? It's calendar invites, email monitoring, morning summaries, right? Like we heard on Greg Eisenberg's podcast.
How many people need morning summaries? I don't need a morning summary.
It's just good YouTube content, right? No one's actually going in here and doing things in the real world and getting morning summaries from ClawdBot. That's just not reality.
And it's like one of my issues as well is like the idea of like, oh, it's going to build things for you at night. It sounds cool, but usually when AI operates with zero supervision and zero feedback, it's usually slop, basically. And so even with the best models.
And that's just it too. No one has context. They just think these AI models can just do whatever they want and produce like the Mona Lisa of outputs, which is not reality.
I mean, either they lack taste or they're being dishonest, basically. That's pretty much it. But it's like, these tools are incredible. Like you can still 3-4x your productivity. That's real. But it's more like an exoskeleton, right? It's something that you walk with the AI to get something that's good and better than the model would do on its own. And then especially in marketing, right? It's like marketing is a zero-sum game. If you do bad marketing, nobody cares about what you do.
Right.
You get zero exposure, etc. So you have to do a good job. Otherwise, you're wasting your time and money. So yeah, I don't know. It's like it's just there's a lot of hype. It's unfortunate because I feel like it's it's kind of like the people who voted for Brexit. It's like the same people are the people who are losing.
Yeah.
Well, they're losing. They're the ones losing their jobs the most, etc. And I feel it's kind of the same thing. It's like the people who kind of like fall into that, they're also the ones who are going to suffer the most because of making these decisions, basically.
Yeah. One last point on this topic of AI hype grifters. I'll be honest with you, Gael. I've lost a lot of respect for people who keep beating this drum of ClawdBot, Moltbot, OpenClaw. And let me ask you this. Do you agree with me when I say that people consuming this type of AI hype content, ironically, are actually falling further behind versus if they didn't consume any of that, opened up, VS Code and installed Claude Code and just dive in, fail, repeat, and figure things out, they're going to be way better off than consuming even a second of that content.
I think it's pain avoidance, right? It's the same thing, same reason why people want a magic pill to lose weight instead of like just eat less food,
Shiny object syndrome.
That's the answer to all weight loss is eat less food. And it's the same thing here. It's like you need to do something hard to get a benefit. And then it's like people are like, that's the answer I got in the comments on that post that got quite popular on X. Is like, oh my God, it's so easy. It's like in Claude Code, you have to like talk to it, you have to connect an MCP, etc. I'm like, it's not that hard once you learn it. And I mean, I've made literal comment that you can do /setup MCP and then you give the URL, it just works, right? It's like, so you can make it easier on yourself.
One thing I've noticed too, Gael, is no one knows what good looks like, especially in my field of marketing, content, SEO. We could get into the micro here, but anyone that posts these like clickbait, rage bait hooks of it can do this while you sleep. Oh my God, it produced this. Okay, what are the outputs? Complete slop. But an average person who doesn't know what good looks like, they don't know how to distinguish slop from something that actually moves the needle.
I don't think it's an AI problem though. It's like look, in the SEO world where I was before that, a lot of people
I agree with you.
really shitty and sloppy websites too, and really bad content, despite the fact they would call themselves SEOs and they would get poor result, and then they would wonder why, and try to find like a tactic or like a rather than just understanding that the overall work is just not good enough and the effort is not there or the talent is not. They would just try to point out, oh, I don't have enough keyword density or whatever. And that would be, and it's kind of the same thing repeating itself. So it's like, as I'm changing industries, I'm kind of realizing the flaws of people are actually quite similar.
Yeah. And one thing you said too in a recent call in your community, you talked about how grateful we actually are that we had how many years of previous experiences DIYing and doing all of this work ourselves, which was painful at the time, right? Even if you tried to hire it to VAs and all those other things, like the quality was still terrible. So you're tweaking and polishing. But like looking back, I know you probably agree with me here. I'm super grateful I had to go through all that pain to figure out, internal linking, external linking, proper hierarchy on-page SEO fundamentals, right? That's a micro example, but other people that don't understand that, they're just thinking AI can be a silver bullet, and that's not true.
It's just like you learn nothing, right? You think that AI is going to do everything, and then the speed to like getting to something is really low. And sometimes AI can really do the full work, and it's like, it's kind of replacing it, and this is not a useful skill anymore. But sometimes, I mean, for a lot of stuff, you still need to kind of steer it. That's why developers are still here. Look, AI codes very well. A lot of devs are like, it's not like there's mass unemployment for devs. There is less new positions for junior devs because junior devs tended to be the ones that grind the code, right? But the people who actually have taste and have experience, they actually still sought after, maybe more so now, because one person that has good experience and can operate these tools ends up producing like, what a whole team used to produce, basically. And so like that's why our generation, like basically millennials, are in a very good position right now, because they'll be kind of like the last generation with hands-on experience,
right,
on a lot of
skills. Take that
so
for granted too.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for people. And I think it's going to be much more difficult for young people who have no experience and really not much to bring over an AI model, whereas you have your pre-AI experience, basically. So we're kind of lucky. We grew up with the internet, and now we kind of like get to the point where experience is valued even more because these models can essentially be a force multiplier for that,
Yeah, and I wasn't planning on bringing this up too, but I saw a recent report where January was like one of the worst layoff periods in history since the 2009 recession, at least in the US. I don't know about globally, but again, it goes back to a lot of those entry-level positions. And also, too, think about the job openings, right? I think that's going to be the first wave of where companies are starting to figure out, why would I open for an intro or entry level position when we can have someone just leverage AI that already knows what they're doing and then take the work of that entry level role. And I just don't see that stopping anytime soon as people wake up.
But I think if you're like decent at using these tools and showing up at an interview today, like you're going to have a lot of opportunities. I think
I agree with you.
Going to be very high. And so like, you can't say maybe that's going to be forever, but like, yeah, everyone should be like, I know you're not a big fan of OpenAI recently, but even paying for a $20 subscription for like Codex, for example, and then learning how to use these tools is like, Claude is a bit more expensive, like $20, you get nothing.
Pretty much.
It's like, it's literally a paid trial, the $20 plan. But on Codex, you get quite a lot actually. And so like, let's say you're on a budget, you're a student, whatever, like picking up a $20 subscription on OpenAI and learning how to use like an agentic tool, etc. I think if you show up at an interview, you're going to have lots of opportunities actually. So
I agree with you. There's a lot of
it's just
leverage too.
changing.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's just changing. There's always been like that. I mean, when I graduated, it was like literally right after 2008 crisis. It wasn't exactly the greatest job market either, you know.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out here in the near future. But let's actually go back to Claude Code for a little bit. So, why should most people, Gael, in your opinion, use Claude Code and N8N instead of going after these Moltbot, any insert shiny object that pops up? Like, why Claude Code and N8N for day to day? Just give some real world use cases for marketing, content, business.
I mean, real world use cases, I do everything, right? It's like, let's say, like, for example, we released like a new course. I have the context of the course. I built a custom MCP that pulls the content from our community. So I have it in Markdown files, for example. And then let's say we release something new. I want to make an announcement to the email list. I have a skill that actually will use that content and knows how to format the newsletter and all of that. That's cool. But then that skill also knows how to connect to my email tool and how to essentially transform the Markdown file of the newsletter into HTML for the email tool. Not only that, but like if you transform it in HTML, usually most email tools will not let you upload images, right? So it's also connected to Cloudflare. It uploads the image to Cloudflare and then injects the link of the image inside the HTML of the email, so that if I put a thumbnail, for example, that it handles all of that on its own, basically. Stupid things, like sounds stupid, but it's like it's actually annoying. And then it will just literally just make me a draft. And then again, I have another skill that pulls the recent data of the email, so it learns and it refines its strategy on how it's going to write subject lines and things like that based on past open rates and so on. And I just need to run that command once. Yes, it's not fully automated. I run a slash command. I'm like slash bento stats. Very difficult, right? And I just open another tab. Talking.
You should just hand that over to OpenClaw, Gael. I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, maybe I should. Yeah, I mean, I still like having control and knowing what's happening. The idea of of losing control, I think will lead to a lot of slop. So I prefer essentially contracting these workflows, but consciously triggering them, basically.
Especially when you're doing things that people are paying money for, right? So I always go back to the old example. I have yet to meet someone in real life, Gael, I don't know about you, that's closing 6-7 figure deals on the beach with their 100 node N8N automations with the AI agents doing everything. Yeah. Like that's the example I always tell people. Like in the real world, that's not reality.
Most people don't do that. Yeah, there is some automation, but the problem with most automation, again, is it's sloppy. It's like it's quite difficult to stand out. It's like it's not about automating. It's about out-automating everyone else who's automating so that you can stand out. And marketing, at least, that's how it's going to work.
And it's good for engagement, right? It's good to get lead magnets. It's good to get people in your funnels. But like the average person scrolling on LinkedIn or X has no clue about what any of this stuff is. And again, it goes back to what we said earlier. They can't figure out slop versus quality. And that's the big issue.
But that's why I like the idea of collaboration with the models, because they essentially, like, let's say I write the newsletter. It's not just writing the newsletter and uploading it. It's just making a markdown file, it's giving it to me, and then I'm highlighting some parts. I'm like, oh, this is not that good. Like, I want the CTA to be higher. I want this, I want that, etc. And then when I'm done, I still tell it to update. It's like the really powerful thing with Claude Code and Scales is like, let's say you gave a whole round of feedback. You can say, update your documentation. So next time you'll be a bit closer to what I want, basically. It's not perfect. Like I wish it was. But it does pick up things as you do that, and it does get better over time. So the more you collaborate, it's like training an employee, basically.
But skills were the big unlock for me the more I got into this.
Yeah, I think it's a good system now. It's like the problem with MCPs is like when you had lots of MCPs, it would destroy your context window. But now skills are very token efficient, and so you can really build complex systems with a lot of them and intertwine them and everything.
It's the real-time feedback loop. And also, I think a lot of people aren't thinking about this. They're transferable. They're just markdown files, right? So you can transfer your skills if you wanted to, right? Into Codex, Gemini CLI, insert other AI coding agent that comes along, versus previously you had the walled gardens of ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini. You're making GPTs, projects, gems, etc., but you're stuck in that walled garden. It's not transferable without minutes, if not hours, of copy paste over to a new platform.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people that are in our audience, which is kind of like marketers and entrepreneurs, they kind of struggle with that. They were like, oh, but you use Claude Code. What if OpenAI gets better? I'm like, these are just text files, guys. All the models can read them and follow the instructions of them. And Skills is actually now an open standard, basically. It's like everyone uses them. So it's like, yeah, the switching cost is really low. And that's kind of another reason to there's a lot of these kind of basically overly marketed tools that try to do the same thing but is shittier basically with less options. And I think kind of going with the most basic tool but most customizable and then just learning that, it will prevent you from having to switch all the time as well, actually, because you'll stay on the same file folder because of all of that. And you can gain some depth, because the problem now is that there's always new AI tools, right? It's just it's an avalanche now that you can vibe code them. But the reality is I think it's a waste of time for most of them. And what you want to do is be very good at 2 or 3 so you can really exploit them. And so N8N is really good for when you're not at your computer and you want high volume things, etc. It's still good. I don't care what people say. And then Claude Code is your coworker,
That's debunking the N8N versus Claude Code question that you get all the time. I get all the time. But I think that's the wrong question, honestly.
It's just N8N is this thing that just passively happens, and then Claude is the thing that you actively work on. It's that simple. And it's but you don't want to process every contact form entry on your website, for example. I don't want to process that manually. N8N is so much better at this. If you need to process let's say 1,000 items through a spreadsheet, through an automation, there's no way I'm going to run that on Claude Code. It's going to destroy your plan, right? It's I don't think you can do that with your plan limit anyway. So N8N makes more sense, and quite often you probably want to run on a cheaper model for many things. Gemini Flash is a very good model on N8N, for example.
That's a very good point. Yeah, Gemini Flash, Haiku, all those cheaper models for kind of those.
That's what you run on N8N, right? For low stakes tasks, and then you take a model that costs $3 per million token out, and it's still a very good model. And it will do the sorting for you rather than $25 per million for Opus,
Yeah, absolutely. I want to keep talking about Claude skills really quickly here. So one unlock that I've had recently, we talked about this real-time feedback loop, and I think people really aren't comprehending this fully, and I should make another tutorial about this, where I was writing my email newsletter the other day or a few days ago, and what I was doing was continually refining it, right? I gave it all my subject line data. So now it had that for context. I gave it my intro, my call to actions. But what really blew me away is I synced up my YouTube API key and I said, find my, latest trending videos and also link to those videos in this particular section. And it actually did that flawlessly.
Yeah.
So that was an unlock for me where I'm like, well, now we can give it APIs and MCPs and have it update the skill markdown files, knowing what to do in those situations. And I think people just need to understand just how efficient that is, that it updates in real time versus going back and forth on a GPT or a project, and how inefficient that truly is.
Yeah, it's basically you just have all your files and your context and you can just mention them. And it's just and people sometimes think that it reads all the files all the time. No, that's not how it works. It has to go open the file, but that's very good. Between that and the fact that you can, let's say, highlight text in any file and kind of focus it on that, etc. The tools to kind of co-work with the model are actually really powerful in the code editor. I know it's a bit scary because it looks like a dev thing. And you're like, oh my God, it's I'm not technical.
Which I was there, Gael. I'll be honest, bro. I was Gael. I was there. You helped me over the hump, though. I'll give you credit.
It's but once you realize it's just plain English, you start that way. I think eventually everyone should start coding a bit with it. And I'm personally, my goal is to take people there, but I'm going very slowly so that people are not scared. But yeah, it's just text, and it's just working on a text editor. It's just on the left, you have your folders, you have your text in the middle, and you have a chat on the right. It's a better version of the canvas in the apps. And because it interacts with the apps that you use, the problem with chatbots is you get text and you have to do something with it. But this does the things on the apps that you use. And that's kind of nice, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's take this opportunity, Gael, if you had something to screen share and kind of showcase one of the skills that you've been using. Your X or Twitter account, I'll leave it in the description below, by the way. You've been on fire recently, right? I've seen a lot of these posts that you've been posting here, ton of engagement, right? There's a lot of, I would say you take a polarizing stance on a lot of this stuff, which obviously you and I both know that works.
It works.
Yeah, I think it's also a correct polarizing stance, though, right? There's other.
It's I try to be relevant still and not overly dramatic, but it's I try to have some fun with it too, because it's the platform as well, right? That's how it works. Yeah. Okay. So I'll show you what this is. This is a podcast transcript. So I like to for the social post ideas, I like to actually base it on something I actually said. And so podcasts are really powerful for this. Even this discussion we're having here, we could probably generate a lot of social post ideas from that.
Oh, I'm going to.
And so I have this skill called Social Manager, and this skill has like a workflow as described here, and it has a bunch of references with like competitors, a content mode, which is essentially like post formats, examples, hooks, etc. Like a bunch of knowledge basically inside. And now I lost my my podcast transcript. So give me a second.
Let's talk about
Podcast
that
transcripts
quickly
here.
too, right? That's a
Yeah.
pile of data that a lot of people are probably sitting on is video podcast transcripts, meeting transcripts. I mean,
Yeah,
that
I
is
use
just
that too. Yeah.
basic context that most people have that they can start leveraging.
Yeah. And then all you have to do is I basically do /social manager, which calls my skill, right? And then I just mention the podcast transcript and I will just know what to do. So I'm just gonna, let's take the MD one. So I'm just gonna select this one and press tab. And then I'm just gonna press enter, right? And it's like, that's it. That's literally the extent of what I need to input to start the workflow. Now it's a collaborative workflow, right? So it reads who is the target audience, what are the rules,
Right.
etc. And it's going to kind of essentially load up its context. And then it's going to propose me some posts, probably 5, based on that whole transcript. So it's just.
Let me ask you this: are you posting directly from here via the X API? Or are you copying and pasting? Like, what's the process here?
So I connected it to Typefully. So it connects to Typefully and it uploads all the drafts directly.
I got it.
For me.
You review it before you just auto post it.
Yeah, I don't. It's not like a one shot. It's like I still spend some time. It's like I don't think you can get the engagement I'm getting right now fully automated. So it's like what it's doing is it's kind of like as I say, it's loading its context. It's thinking like, oh, you talked about this stuff. There's some actual facts that are interesting. Let me propose you some angles. And so, for example, this one is and the thing is like the skill is trained to trigger emotions. So it's not. It's like I've decided teaching on social media is useless. Nobody cares.
For sure.
People just want emotions. So like there's one thing I said, which is 2026 is the last year where you can start learning AI or you'll be completely left behind, for example. It's like it mined that. It was like, that's a good one, right?
Yeah, but you back it up with actual, good stuff,
yeah.
right? It's not just you're behind, here's what you need to do, drop what you're doing, open ClawdBot, right? It's nothing like that.
You see skills, for example, right? This is like kind of like we call it a primitive that you need to learn, even Claude Code, etc. But like by the end of this year, there will be 4 or 5 new concepts at least that you need to learn. And it's like when you join this industry and you have learned none of it, and then there's like 15 of these things to learn on top of MCP, etc. It's going to feel overwhelming. That's kind of what I explained, basically. So
I still think Claude Code, people that are using Claude Code, I'd argue you're in like the 0.1%, but I would argue people using Claude Code are probably in the 1%, I would say, of AI power users, because walk down the street, Gael, what do people do? They don't even know what Claude is. They're opening up ChatGPT on a browser, using the free version, not logged in, and they think they're like some sophisticated AI super user. I'm like, this is reality in Main Street. People don't understand past ChatGPT, Gemini. I would argue most people don't even know what Claude is based on some of my recent conversations.
Yeah. It's like, but I think it's catching up fast. Like Claude, like, in Davos this year, they were talking about Claude Code, right? It's like, it's getting mainstream at this point.
That's true.
So it's like, it's coming slowly. And then it's in the professional world, at least, it's going to be expected for people who, I think for marketers and for developers, it's going to be expected in a year or 2. Anyway, we got this one. It got us talking, so that's good. We got a reaction. And then Anthropic has 2% of AI chatbot traffic and half of OpenAI's revenue, which is also a fact that we got from the earnings, which is an interesting point as well to talk about. Discovery story. Claude Code is the worst name. Claude Code is the terrible name product. It's not a coding tool. So like essentially what I'm showing you here, like it's not a social post.
That's true.
And ChatGPT went from 87% market share to 65% in 1 year. That's also an interesting story. And then, the thing it was a story we talked about where the Wall Street Journal ran a vending machine with AI and they basically just hijacked it like crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's just pick one of them. Let's say, or 2 maybe. Let's pick the 1 and let's pick the 3, right? So I'd say prep 1 and 3. And I think, in principle, it asks me questions on, like, if I have further opinions on this. So it's going to make Opus sub-agents. So using sub-agents. And the reason I'm using sub-agents actually it's not going to ask me questions. But the reason it's using sub-agents is actually when the model was writing all the social posts at the same time, they tended to sound the same. And so what I've done is I made it create sub-agents so that the context is completely clear. It doesn't see what the other agent writes, and it doesn't write the same way, basically, because otherwise LLMs tend to have patterns, and when they see one thing, they kind of repeat it.
For sure.
And so that's why I did that. So it actually is taught for each social post to use a sub-agent with clear context, and it writes a prompt for it. And then it's going to give me a draft, basically. So that was part of my refinement, for example. I was like, you tell me they're different. They're kind of the same, guys. What is that? And then it's like, okay, use sub-agents. I don't want you to know what, like, you're working separately.
Everyone I love that. And this is a simple use case, honestly, for most marketers or content creators. We're not even getting in the weeds here.
No, this is a simple one, but like, but this is connected to MCP as well. So I can then say send it to Typefully, or like make a LinkedIn version and an X version, for example. I will write them slightly differently.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's the thing. You start with the seed, you build that, and then eventually you kind of refine it for the platform, and then you schedule it directly from here. And then it's like on Typefully, what I like is they really have the preview of how it's going to look on the network. So before I press the shadow button, it's like I really make sure it looks good. Right, here we go. So we got our first draft that's coming. 2026 is the last year to catch up in AI. After that, it just gets faster. I recorded a podcast this week. That was the line. Sorry, that was the line that stuck. Here's why I believe it. This stuff you need to know is stacking up skills agents and CP stuff. What I told you, system prompts, context management, coding agents. If you learn them when they came out, each one is a small step. When they pile up, you're looking at new work. You get the idea.
Yeah. And I'll leave your X profile in the description below too, so people can see what you're producing here for outputs.
And so I need to update this scale still, because I think this is too polished. Like, I find less polished social content is better. So I'd be like,
I agree.
Too polished.
Shows that little human element.
Yeah, be more human. Add imperfections. That's something that I like to do. And you will see that when you do that, it will sound a lot more. And so I need to update that scale. So that's one of the things I'll probably do right after this. It's like, oh, you're right. Like, this is not good. And then it's like, it's going to do that. So it's like, that's the point. I kind of go back and forth with it, but still, it's not bad. Like, you know, some of these posts, they got 2,000 plus likes.
Oh, I know.
Scale, basically.
I love it.
So it's like, you know, it's not very difficult. It's a lot less painful than actually doing it yourself, right?
Yeah. Well, Gael, let's bring it back here. And I'm going to ask you a few rapid fire questions to kind of close this out. All right, Gael. So first rapid fire question I have for you here. 2027 prediction, just a quick answer prediction here. Will autonomous AI agents actually be safe enough for mainstream use, or will you always need some sort of human in the loop, like human oversight security thing going on?
I think the Moltbot stuff is going to make waves. And I think the big companies are taking notice that people really want this.
Yeah.
So I would not be surprised if this year we get a much safer version of this coming from OpenAI, coming from Anthropic, coming from Google. And
perfect opportunity for Anthropic to capitalize off this.
Yeah, I think it's 100%. Like, it will take 6 months for them to make something that feels safe enough or something. I don't think we'll see it until the summer or something. But I would not be surprised that by the end of this year we get something that can do 80% of what we have here, and that's like 500% safer.
For sure. Well, keep your crystal ball out here, because I'm going to ask you to make another prediction. If you had to make another prediction here, what is the next AI shiny object that's going to distract everyone in 2020?
Something about AI video and social media.
You think so? I saw Remotion was kind of the next one here with Claude.
I mean, Remotion, not even. I think it's like this year we're going to hit the point where you won't be able to distinguish AI video, probably.
Yeah, with VO or whatever that comes out.
What that means is the next make money online thing is like, oh my God, make money by posting 600 shorts per day generated by AI, etc. Like, people already do that, right? They do basically fake hot girls on Instagram, and then they just make fake OnlyFans, and then they get desperate guys to give them money.
Which I always tell people, you guys realize if you're using VO to generate these faceless AI videos and you upload them to YouTube, it's the same company that produces VO video. You're telling me that they don't know that that's AI generated, and they're gonna
but they don't care. They want to sell ad impressions, So it's like they sell you the API, they make a profit on that, and then they sell ad impressions on the video, and they make money on that.
That's a really good point. I didn't think about it that way.
So why stop it?
Yeah, it's a good one. Last question I have for you, Gael. Which matters more for the rest of this year? And I think I'm going to know your answer. Is it optimizing for skills, or should people still look at AI agents as like this thing we need to capitalize on?
I mean, AI agents is kind of such a vague term, right? It's like Claude Code is an AI agent. So it's like it's too much. Everything is an AI agent. Like you argue, like AI agent is basically AI with tools, and then essentially every chatbot has search. So it's essentially every chatbot is an AI, an agent. I think it's more workflows. It's like this has been out for 3.5 years. It's time to make actually change the way people work, basically. And I think this year is going to be that. It's like the new Codex app is incredible. Claude Code is incredible. And it's the year to learn, like to relearn how to work. It's like when people are like, oh, why are you so bullish on your training business? I'm like, because I think everyone needs to relearn how to use a computer. And that's a big market. And yeah.
I interviewed Mark Kashif, big YouTuber, not too long ago. He had a really good term when it comes to AI agents. I agree with him. He said there's a lot of mental masturbation when you say the word AI agent, where people just think it's going to, back to kind of Moltbot, ClawdBot, OpenClaw, where it's just going to solve all my problems if I can just let an AI agent handle everything. But if there's zero context and you don't know what good looks like, an AI agent's worthless. If you have chaos, a bad CRM, bad data, bad business, bad product, whatever, an AI agent's only going to amplify that chaos. That's what I always tell people.
And also, like, you kind of build in steps, right? It's like there's no way you're gonna go from zero to like an omniscient AI agent that can do everything. Like
that's what everyone tells me, though, Gael.
I know, but the point is that usually you kind of go in steps. So like, you can see my social skill is okay, but it could be refined, for example. And that's okay. Like you kind of refine, and in 6 months, if I show it to you again, it's going to be completely different and way better, for example.
Yeah.
And that's the point. It's like you need to accept the imperfection of it, but start implementing, because otherwise there's no way that when this good stuff comes out, which there is a lot already, you will be ready for that. And that's kind of what we're seeing right now. Is like people miss the train on Claude Code, and now they're trying to make up for it with like a gimmick alternative, basically.
Pretty much.
And that's the point. It's like you need to do the boring stuff that takes a bit of learning to really unlock the new things when they come out.
Yeah, and I mean, we could talk about this all day, but a lot of that hype was actually artificial too, with like crypto scams and fake Reddit bots pushing this all.
Which is why it's like seeing real influencers then kind of like buy into this, etc. I'm like, this is terrible.
It just tells you how uncredible and untrustworthy most people in this space are. But
anyways, it makes me sad. Yeah, it makes me a bit sad, because then you have the big AI companies that still work with these people, and I'm like, how can people trust this industry?
I always tell people, like, how do you sleep at night? Like saying shit like this. Like that's literally what I want to tell these people. But anyways, we could go on about this forever. Based on everything that we talked about, Gael, what is one closing thought that you have for everyone listening or watching?
I think it's the same thing that I just said earlier, which is like start small and then build up on that. And I think it's good that the scale I showed you wasn't extraordinarily developed, because first of all, you can see it got results still.
For sure.
And then it shows you that even if I'm really deep into that, like not everything is super polished, and that it's just a matter of getting started. And a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to start learning when this slows down or something. This is not slowing down. Like you're missing the train. Like it's accelerating, and then you're running alongside it. You just need to jump on it.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're going to miss it. And,
that's good advice.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. So Gael, where can people follow you online to learn more about what you're doing?
I mean, I run authorityhacker.com. We have a training business. That's my main activity. I mean, you can see I'm not really a content creator. Like most of my content is actually behind paywalls.
Which is why I respect the hell out of you. And the content that you do put out behind the paywall that I'm in is super high quality. Just telling you that right now.
Yeah, and we try. I mean, that's the thing. It's like we want it to be in a non-algorithm run environment, so that we can just do the right thing and not care about how many people click on it or whatever. And yeah, it's going well right now. And so that check out Authority Hacker. We have a podcast, Authority Hacker podcast.
Yeah.
Where we try to talk about all that's happening in the industry, mostly from a business perspective, but try to also kill the hype and talk about how things really are, basically.
For sure. I'll leave links to all that in the description below. Gael, thank you so much again for your time. I know you're a busy guy. Thank you to everyone for watching or listening to this edition of AI Rabbit Holes. Be sure to tune in again next time.